¿Qué lo que y'all? What's good? Estamos activos, bienvenido, and we are now una comunidad de 8,000 suscriptores. So big shout out to all y'all that have already subscribed, and if you haven't yet, come on. So as you can see, for the very first time, I am rocking the poof today because I just shampooed my hair and it was smelling so good that I didn't want to put any product in it. So here it is. I used to be so ashamed of my natural hair as a kid, so this is a big step for me to just be on here live with my hair just natural. So anyway, here's what we came for. This is the third lesson in this Spanish noun gender series. So if you haven't seen those first two, then you want to back it up and come back. Otherwise, this one just ain't going to make as much sense. In the first lesson, we learned the basics of Spanish noun gender and articles, plus how to say the and a in Spanish. In the second lesson, we learned all the different rules that'll help you usually figure out whether a noun is masculine or feminine. But those rules only apply to nouns that refer to general non-living things. So like una mesa or un libro. So in this last lesson, we're going to go over some guidelines that'll help you refer to people and animals in Spanish. Then in the final video, we're going to do a practice session so that you can actually apply everything you learned in this series. I know that this series has not been a lot of fun. It hasn't been very much fun for me either. But honestly, if you put forth the time now, it's going to really help you out in the future because you really need to know all of these things. So keep hanging in there. You've almost made it. Plus, today's lesson is pretty straightforward, so you've already made it past most of the hard stuff. So, this lesson is just going to consist of 6 short guidelines. So here it is. We already know that whether a non-living noun is masculine or feminine depends on what that noun ends with. It has nothing to do with actual male and female genders. But for nouns that refer specifically to living, breathing things, the gender can change to represent whether it's male or female. Let's look at a cat, un gato. This just means a cat, but you can tell by the ending and by the article that it's masculine. You'll notice that for most living nouns, the masculine form is the default. And since it's the default, a lot of times people won't just assume that you mean that whatever you're talking about is male unless it's obvious or unless you specify. So in this case, they would just think a cat. But if you want to specify that this is actually a female cat, then you could change the o ending to a and change the article. So we would change gato to gata and change un to una gata, a female cat. Similarly, el niño is the boy, la niña is the girl, el abuelo is the grandfather, la abuela is the grandmother. Un maestro is a male teacher and una maestra is a female teacher, and so on. Keep in mind that this only works for living things. So just because you refer to your car as a female doesn't mean that you can change el carro to la carra, because that don't work. If you're referring to a group of people or animals and it's mixed genders, so both males and females, the group is always gonna be masculine. Por ejemplo, if you want to say some kids, but the kids include both males and females, it's going to be unos niños, even though there's niñas in there too. It doesn't matter if there's 9 niñas y un niño, it's still niños. The only time you'll use niñas is if they're all female. The same is true for los maestros. Los maestros, las maestras, los abuelos, las abuelas, and all that. In the last lesson, we learned that nouns that end with R are often masculine. So then why is it la mujer? Well, mujer means woman, so it's feminine. The same is true for hombre. Hombre means man, so it's masculine. Madre means mother, so it's feminine. Padre means father, so it's masculine. You get it. For many job titles and professions, you can add a to the end and change the article if you want to refer to a female. Por ejemplo, doctor is naturally masculine, so a doctor is un doctor. But if you want to talk about a female doctor, then you could say una doctora. The same is true for words like winner, ganador. To talk about a female, you just add a onto the end, ganadora. There are some words that you can't just change the ending on to make it feminine, and this specifically applies to words that end in ista, ente, and ante, and probably a couple other ones. For these, you can only change the article to show a person's gender. So the word will look the exact same for both genders, and the only thing that'll change is el la or un una. I'll use el and la for these examples. So turista for a male is el turista, and for a female, la turista. Gerente for a male is el gerente, or for a female, la gerente. And estudiante is el estudiante or la estudiante. This last one is for you to be aware of, even though it hasn't really caught on outside of the United States. There's a new trend of putting e or X at the end of words that would traditionally end in O or A to refer to somebody in a non-gender specific way. So for example, you might have seen Latine or Latinx. This is the non-gender specific way to refer to somebody who is Latino. Because this breaks traditional Spanish structure, a lot of people don't agree with its usage, but it is slowly gaining popularity, especially here in Los Estados Unidos. So if you haven't already, you'll probably see this in the news, on school campuses, in ads, etc. And I imagine we'll start to see more of it. So it's a good one to be aware of, regardless of how you feel about it. Don't come into the comments hassling me about this one, please. If you don't like it, just don't use it. I just want you to be aware. I don't want to debate about it. I'm just telling you. Another one you might see, and this one you might actually see used on this channel, is you can use the @ sign to show that a word could end in O or A. So if I was going to teach you the word listo, which can mean ready, I'd want to show you that it can either be used as listo for a male or lista for a female. So I might just write it like this. Felicidades, because you made it through another series. And like I said, I know that this one hasn't been very much fun and it's been a lot of work. But I highly recommend that you rewatch these lessons as many times as you need to until it clicks, that you practice these rules on your own, and that you prepare for our final practice session in the very last lesson coming up. Suscríbete, give this video a like, and stay tuned. Gracias por estar aquí. Hasta la próxima.